An analysis of the decline of Catholicism in Spain. Age demographics, reasons for disaffiliation, and the role of historical awareness. Spain, historically a stronghold of Roman Catholicism, has witnessed a significant decline in Catholic affiliation over the past several decades. From the 1970s, when approximately 90% of Spaniards identified as Catholic, the figure has dropped to around 55% by 2025. This essay examines the age demographics of those leaving the Catholic Church in Spain, the primary reasons for their disaffiliation, and whether growing awareness of the Church's historical and contemporary controversies, often referred to as horrors, plays a significant role in this trend. By analyzing data from recent studies and considering socio-cultural shifts, this essay aims to provide a comprehensive understanding of this transformative phenomenon. Age demographics of those leaving the Catholic Church. The decline in Catholic affiliation is not uniform across all age groups in Spain, with younger generations showing a more pronounced shift away from the Church. According to a report by the Franco Foundation, only 55% of Spaniards over the age of 18 identify as Catholic in 2025, a stark contrast to the 90% recorded in the 1970s. The most significant decline is observed among younger age groups, particularly those aged 18 to 29. In 2002, 60% of this demographic identified as Catholic, but by 2024, this figure had plummeted to 32%. In contrast, among those aged 70 and older, Catholic identification decreased less dramatically from 89% in 2002 to 77% in 2024. This generational disparity is further corroborated by data from the Ferrer y Guardia Foundation, which reports that 48.9% of Spaniards aged 18 to 24 have turned their backs on religion entirely, with only 48.5% confessing to having any belief system. Meanwhile, 88.6% of those aged 65 and older still believe in God, reflecting the lingering influence of Catholicism during the Franco dictatorship, 1936-1975, when religious observance was often mandatory. The median age for disaffiliation is notably young, with studies indicating that many individuals stop identifying as Catholic as early as age 13, long before they cease attending church services. The data suggests a clear generational divide. Older generations, shaped by a socio-political environment where Catholicism was deeply intertwined with national identity, are more likely to retain their affiliation. Younger generations, growing up in a democratic and increasingly secular Spain, are more likely to question or abandon religious identity altogether. Reasons for leaving the Catholic Church. The reasons for leaving the Catholic Church in Spain are multifaceted, encompassing personal, cultural, and institutional factors. While awareness of the Church's historical and contemporary controversies contributes to disaffiliation, it is not the sole or primary driver for most individuals. Below are the key reasons identified in recent studies and analyses. 1. Generational shift and secularization. The advance of secularization is a primary driver of the decline in Catholic affiliation, particularly among younger generations. The Franco Foundation report highlights that the space lost by Catholicism is largely occupied by those identifying as agnostic, atheist, or religiously indifferent, with the percentage of non-religious Spaniards rising from 22% in 2002 to 42% in 2024. This shift is partly due to generational replacement, as younger, less religious cohorts replace older, more devout ones. However, it also reflects a broader cultural move toward secular values, facilitated by Spain's transition to democracy after Franco's death in 1975, and the subsequent counter-cultural movement known as La Movida Madrilena. This period marked a rejection of traditional institutions, including the Catholic Church, in favor of modernization and individual freedoms. 2. Disillusionment with institutional religion. Disillusionment with the Catholic Church as an institution is a significant factor cited by those leaving. Studies indicate that nearly 4 in 10 former Catholics who are now unaffiliated, 36%, and 3 in 10 who have become Protestant, 29%, left due to dissatisfaction with religious institutions, organizations, or people. This includes perceptions of the Church as rigid, out of touch, or overly focused on rules rather than spiritual needs. In Spain, tensions between the Catholic Church and the left-wing government led by Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez have further highlighted the Church's diminishing influence, as younger generations perceive it as resistant to progressive social changes, such as those related to gender equality and LGBTQ+ rights. 3. Personal and lifestyle factors. Many individuals leave the Catholic Church not for doctrinal reasons, but due to lifestyle preferences. A Vatican document cited by Pope Francis notes that in Latin America, people often leave the Church because of how other religious or non-religious communities live, suggesting that alternative lifestyles or communities may feel more relevant or supportive. In Spain, this is reflected in the declining participation in Catholic rituals, such as religious marriages, which have fallen to a quarter of their level at the beginning of the century, and the reduced presence of Catholicism in public schools. Younger generations in particular are drawn to secular or alternative spiritual practices that align more closely with their values or offer greater flexibility. 4. Early disaffiliation and lack of engagement. A critical finding is that many young people begin questioning their Catholic identity at a very young age, often around 13. A 2018 study by the Center for Applied Research in the Apostolate, CARA, found that 74% of former Catholics decided to leave between ages 10 and 20, with many citing doubts that were never discussed with parents or church leaders. This early disengagement suggests a failure of the Church to connect with younger generations during formative years, compounded by a lack of open dialogue about faith and doubt within families or parishes. 5. Cultural and historical context. The Catholic Church's historical role in Spain, particularly its alliance with Franco's dictatorship, has left a lasting impact on younger generations. During Franco's regime, the Church was a pillar of state authority, often enforcing conservative social norms and suppressing dissent. For many younger Spaniards, this association taints the Church's image, as the memory of its role in supporting an oppressive regime remains vivid, especially among those whose families experienced division or hardship during this period. The post-Franco era, marked by La Movida Madrilena, saw a deliberate rejection of traditional institutions, including the Church, as Spaniards embraced a new modern identity. The role of awareness of Catholic Church horrors. The term horrors in the context of the Catholic Church often refers to historical and contemporary scandals, such as the Church's role during the Spanish Civil War and Franco's dictatorship, as well as more recent revelations of clergy abuse scandals. While these issues contribute to disaffiliation, their impact is nuanced and not the primary driver for most individuals. Historical controversies. The Catholic Church's collaboration with Franco's regime, during which it supported policies that led to the persecution of political opponents and the enforcement of strict social controls, remains a significant factor for some. For younger generations, this history is often learned through family stories or education, leading to a perception of the Church as complicit in past injustices. However, this awareness is more likely to influence those already questioning their faith rather than serving as the sole reason for leaving. 2. Clergy abuse scandals. Recent revelations of clergy abuse scandals have further eroded trust in the Catholic Church. In Spain, a major abuse scandal was highlighted in 2024, contributing to public disillusionment. While these scandals have undoubtedly damaged the Church's reputation, studies suggest they are not the primary reason for disaffiliation. Instead, they reinforce existing doubts or provide a final push for those already considering leaving. For example, the injured archetype identified by Cara describes young people who leave due to personal hardships, where they felt God or the Church was absent, and abuse scandals can exacerbate this sense of betrayal. 3. Cultural awareness and media influence. The rise of media and technology has increased awareness of the Church's controversies, particularly among younger generations who are more connected to global information. Social media and news outlets frequently highlight Church scandals, from financial mismanagement to abuse cover-ups, which can shape perceptions of the institution as hypocritical or morally compromised. However, the Ferrer y Guardia Foundation notes that younger Spaniards are more likely to abandon religion due to a preference for secular values or technology over metaphysical beliefs, suggesting that while awareness of scandals plays a role, it is secondary to broader cultural shifts. Analysis. Are scandals the primary driver? While awareness of the Catholic Church's historical and contemporary horrors contributes to its declining membership, it is not the primary reason for disaffiliation in Spain. The data points to secularization, generational shifts, and disillusionment with institutional religion as the dominant factors. Younger generations in particular are leaving due to a combination of early disengagement, a preference for secular or alternative lifestyles, and a rejection of the Church's historical role in Spanish society. Scandals such as clergy abuse or the church's Franco-era legacy amplify these trends but are rarely cited as the sole reason for leaving. This conclusion is supported by the fact that the rise in agnosticism and atheism, 42% of Spaniards in 2024, far outpaces the growth of other religious affiliations, indicating that people are not simply switching to other faiths, but rejecting organized religion altogether. The Church's inability to adapt to modern values, such as inclusivity and transparency, further alienates younger generations who prioritize these principles. Conclusion. The decline of Catholicism in Spain is a complex phenomenon driven by a confluence of factors. Younger generations, particularly those aged 18 to 29, are leading the exodus, with only 32% identifying as Catholic in 2024 compared to 60% in 2002. This trend is fueled by secularization, disillusionment with the Church's institutional practices, early disengagement, and the lingering impact of its historical role during Franco's dictatorship. While awareness of the Church's horrors, including clergy abuse scandals and its Franco-era complicity, contributes to disaffiliation, it is not the primary driver. Instead, the shift reflects a broader cultural move towards secular values and individual autonomy, particularly among the young. For the Catholic Church to reverse this trend, it would need to address these generational concerns, foster open dialogue, and adapt to the evolving spiritual and social landscape of modern Spain.